22, where are you this morning?
Minus 20. A little bit better, but still freezing.
Lovely. So it's warming up. It's nice and balmy. All right, good. Listen, how are we doing? I mean, we were seeing snippets from your interview with our deputy president. How's he feeling at Davos, and what were some of the key points you took out of his talk?
Well, look, he sounded very enthusiastic about what South Africa had managed to achieve here in terms of engagements with various stakeholders here. Very positive indeed, saying that he'd spoken to a number of heads of state, spoken with business, spoken with many people, and he felt that there was a positive response about South Africa. He got a sense that people do want to invest in South Africa, but also mindful that South Africa at a policy level needs to ensure that it irons out some of the uncertainties that are there. But obviously talking a lot about the positives that are there already. The forging of a minimum wage, which speaks to issues around the SDGs of people having a decent wage. Of course, there is a debate about whether the proposed minimum wage is anywhere near a decent wage. There is a debate about that. But the fact that South Africa is striving towards having a minimum net for people who are in employment, that's a positive. Also issues around the fact that 1 million young people over the next 3 years will get some form of learnerships. This is an initiative that has been spearheaded by Labour government and business. And this is obviously in order to address this issue of the fact that we have such high youth unemployment levels, with some people now deemed unemployable, people who finish maybe school but have never been able to get a job. So they want to try and turn around the lives of those types of people who can ultimately look after themselves and contribute to the economy. So the other issue as well, obviously what's happening in Gambia, he was saying that, as you did mention in the insert, that he's hoping that the processes that are underway there will sort themselves out. But South Africa is fully behind ECOWAS and fully behind what the AU head of states have said in terms of the president there being removed. That's basically it, Leanne. What else do you want to know?
We'd love to speak really what I want to hear about, and I think one of the big trending topics yesterday, and certainly the one that everybody was listening to with anticipation, was Theresa May talking about the issue of Brexit, and all of us really sort of sitting on the sidelines wanting to know what it's going to do and how it's going to work. What did she reveal yesterday?
Well, look, the lady spoke very eloquently and powerfully, actually, about the UK and its decision to withdraw from the EU. And she was saying that Europe will remain a formidable partner for the United Kingdom, for Britain. She was saying that the decision of the UK to withdraw from the EU was in no way a way to undermine the EU. And she was saying, in actual fact, it's in Britain's interest for the EU to remain a strong institution, because they have great historical links, and particularly in the area of defence, they're very important partners. So she was saying that Britain's decision was really about their autonomy as a country to be able to forge ahead in the rest of the globe and have the partnerships that they want. Because when you're a member of the EU, there are certain ways and certain means that you have to follow in order to be able to do things like trade and so on. So Britain wants its autonomy. She didn't really touch on issues like racism and populism, because people feel that racism was partly the reason why people voted in the way that they did, that there's a feeling that foreigners are coming in and taking jobs and so on and so forth. She didn't touch on that potential reality, but she was saying that the underpin, the thrust, is that Britain wants to be an autonomous state, but in partnership with the European Union, an acceptance that they won't necessarily have full access to the single market, which is a population of 500 million people. So on the one hand, she was saying, look, we're saying bye-bye, but we still want to have a partnership and a relationship with you because it's very important. And just touching on some of the remarks that Donald Trump has made in the past, he talked about the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is a relationship between Europe and the United States, a military relationship. And they were saying that he was saying that it's a thing of the past, it's no longer important. And people like Theresa May and the European Union are trying to fight strongly to ensure that they keep NATO in place. They're threatened by all sorts of things like terrorism, and also they've had the whole refugee migration crisis and so on and so forth, which they need to manage at the end of the day. So from that point of view, they feel that NATO is very important. And with Donald Trump coming in today, well, we're going to see how he treats the NATO relationship, because that could destabilize relations quite a bit.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine that that's going to be the focus of attention. Fortunately, I am going to have to leave it there. Nompumelelo, she's in Davos, Switzerland, covering the World Economic Forum for us. But you heard Nompu speak a little bit about Donald Trump there at the end of it. And I'm reading a couple of sentiments and tweets about it, but one that really stood out for me from Bloomberg, basically saying 95% of the conversation at the World Economic Forum is revolving around Donald Trump.